Yeah, I think we looked after our ball a lot better. There were probably half as many turnovers as we had last week, so that didn't allow them as much access to play off turnover ball, where we know they're so dangerous. I felt we repaired a bit of stuff in the air. I don't think Israel Folau had as much access because Keith Earls, I thought, was super in the air. Got very high. He's not quite the same size as Israel Folau, but he is dynamic when he's going up at the ball. The scrum was nice and solid. I thought we even got a little bit of pressure at times. And as I say, the ball retention was good. I thought in that third quarter, we broke the line a couple of times really well, but it was difficult to score him behind it. I thought Nick Phipps's tackle on Keith Earls was an absolute try saver. I think it's a Nick Phipps special, really. He works so hard and behind the line. He's a very good cover defender, and he did a great job. The pop up to Rob Kearney, then he didn't quite get over, and there was probably a couple of penalties conceded down there subsequent to that probably they put some pressure on themselves, trying to get off the line and stop us scoring at that stage, and thankfully Ty managed to get over in the end. So I just thought that third quarter was probably defining for us and allowed us that buffer toward the end where we had Joey Carberry coming on to replace Devon Toner. I haven't seen that too many times. Luckily we didn't have to throw him up in the line out, but we were just hanging in toward the end there, which you don't want to be against an Australian team with the athletes they have and the way they like to play with width, and it was hard to stop their access. It was another nip and tuck game. I think if people want a test series, I think it's a genuine test every time, and that's probably no surprise.
On the injury front, Dan, Andrew and Keane, how are they looking?
Yeah, I think Andrew was looking probably, I'd say he could train fully on Tuesday. He got a hip pointer, just that bruise that kind of, it's debilitating at the time, but I think over the next 48 hours that will wear itself through, and I'd be really confident with Andrew Conway. Ken, just a smack on the AC, which again is temporarily debilitating, but he could still well be okay. And Dan got a whack right on the sternum, which again is very uncomfortable, but he could potentially have played on. But I thought Geordie Murphy went on and did a really good job in his place. There was a few other guys we changed with cramp toward the end, and I think that's probably reflective of the ball and play time. There wasn't a lot of kicking. There was a lot of chasing people around, and that made it a real challenge.
Peter, what did that feel like to play?
Look, it was a test match. Hugely physical, hugely intense. It was as expected when you come up against one of the best teams in the world. The physicality. Up front, we had a lot of ball, certainly in the first half. Even in the second half, we had a lot of ball. There was a lot of breakdown stuff, so it was a very challenging physical game.
Did you feel that you dealt better with Hooper and Hobuck at the breakdown this week as opposed to Brisbane?
I think somewhat better. I still think they get in there and got a couple of turnovers, but it's hard playing against two of the best in the world at that game. So we'd be happy with some of the improvement we made, but it's certainly an area for us to continue to work on and have to target those kind of guys.
Personally, you happy with 3 breakdowns?
Yeah, a couple, yeah. Yeah, happy enough.
Joe, first win here since 1979. Does it feel like a huge moment for this team?
Probably not right now, because all we did was balance the series. I think it all depends on what we can deliver next week, and I know the Wallabies will be thinking the same thing. They're a really good side, and if they do get a bit more access, I know, as you saw toward the end, we were chasing shadows. So nothing feels monumental when it's 1-1. You know, feels like there's still a huge amount to play for. So we'll kind of glue ourselves back together, get the trip out of the way to Sydney tomorrow, and Monday have a bit of a look back at the game, and then Tuesday, Thursday get back out on the training pitch and North Sydney Oval and try to work our way through a couple of things. As Pete said, there's still a few things that we know we need to do better, because we know that they're going to keep getting better. I think it's really evenly poised. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be keen on favouring either side, just because the way the series has gone so far, both games have really been in the balance.
Joe, you spoke about Israel Folau not being as effective. Did you devise plans this week and put them out on the field to make that happen, giving your catches more time?
Not really. I think the kicking game last week was probably just more accessible for him. He got opportunities to get up at the ball that maybe he didn't get tonight. As I said, I thought Keith Earls did a super job getting up at the ball. And Australia kicked less tonight, so there weren't probably as many opportunities for Israel Folau to get up there at it. I think he got 3 superb takes last week, but because they kicked less, there's probably less opportunity for him to get into the game like that. He still didn't look too bad running with the ball down this right-hand touch toward the end of the game. I think he beat 2 tacklers and got very close inside the 5-metre line toward the try line. So whether it's in the air or on his feet, we know the magnitude of the threat that he presents.
You had Johnny on the bench last week, Johnny Sexton starting on the bench. Obviously had a very significant role tonight. So you're happy to man with you in the sheds tonight?
He's always happy. He's never happy. He's a champion, as is Pete. That's why they lead the team around the place so well. Part of what we committed to coming here on the tour was to try to provide opportunity. It was great for Tyg Byrne to make his test debut this evening, and he acquitted himself really well. A couple of really good tackles in that last sort of 15 minutes that he was involved. Jordan Lama, another really important investment for him to get really good time in a test match where he's going to be put under pressure, and I thought he acquitted himself really well. So, those aspects are things that are positives for us regardless of the outcome, but we're massively chasing the outcome at the same time.
Joe, how did you feel Miles Cannon did a pretty big start for him? How did you feel?
Yeah, I thought our scrum was solid. He's probably our biggest scrummaging hooker, and I thought he threw well early on as well. It was a tough line out for Rob Herring to come on and replace him, and he slightly underthrew that one that was kind of close to the line, and that was a frustration for us. But then, for anyone who's had a good look at Rob's game already, I thought his energy was huge. Got off the line, made tackles. So those 2 guys both did well, I thought, and have Sean Cronin in reserve to potentially come into things into the reckoning next week is a real asset for us. So I know we'll look back at Niall's game, and he'll look back at it, and we'll try to forge a little bit of a pathway to progress a little bit further.
Nice couple.
Like Vernon, man, match pretty impressive performance. He's still pretty young for a tight end.
Was he man of the match? Oh, really? Sorry, I didn't hear that. Must have been that spectacular dive to reach and get that try. I didn't realise his arms were that long. He obviously wasn't reaching into his pocket, but I thought he did incredibly well to reach out and score that try. He scrummed well. His line break in the first half, he got lonely. He was in so much space. He got a little bit confused, but then he tried to throw this mountainous pass out to the edge, which got intercepted. But it's not enough for Tyg. He got it back then, which was super play. Defensively, he worked really hard as well. I think he's really deserving of that man of the match award, and I think there's a few other guys who Pete beside me. Those 3 turnovers were crucial, and a couple of really good ball carries, good line-out pressure that he provided. There's James Ryan again and CJ Stander, that relentless energy that they bring to the side. There's a host of guys really, I think, who worked really hard tonight. But yeah, you just have to against a side of this calibre.
Joe, how important is the test now that you won all? Is it a long-term view of the World Cup, or is it you want to win the series and show the side?
Yeah, we definitely want to win the series, but probably got 10 games now between this period, this tour, and when we go into our warm-up for the World Cup. So the thing that we want to believe about our squad is that there's less and less between players, and so selection is a contest every time. And as a result of that, we'll look back on what guys did well tonight, and we'll also see how guys travel. On Tuesday we'll have a better idea about some of those guys who took knocks, and that will allow us to make a few decisions further along.